Lima.
This week, Alaska has been hit by violent storm and damaged the coastline, knocked down trees and caused sudden waves and a midway from aggressive and low-lying area. From Juneau to Anchorage, emergency service rushed to clear highways, restore power and reinforce river banks, while residents assessment damage, searching for missing pets and the salvaged family heirlooms. In the capital, a dramatic geyser breaking down in mid-hill catchment area, causing the rapid flood wave in overflowing local protective structures to cause the record water level in a mid-hill rivers. Residents of area near the riverbanks reported flooded yards and a badly damaged small bridge. Quick action to authority and volunteers helped prevent more casualties. Across south-central Alaska, hurricane force winds uprooted centrally old poor streets and broke power lines, leaving thousands of people without power to several hours. Airports and ferries were shut down to runways and narrow were cleared to debris. Communities that depended to maritime transportation immediately felt in the impact. Officials said unusually warm air in a period atmosphere intensified system caused strong winds and more intense coastal waves than predicted. This week, the United States is experiencing unstoppable weather, from the intensified Atlantic hurricane threatening coastal waves to intense connective outbreak to inland areas and unusual late summer atmospheric river posing to flood in the Pacific Ocean coast. The variety of northern hurricane force winds to the sea, torrential rains, inland flash floods, and destructive winds gusts is testing the resilience of emergency service and highlighting now the definite parts of the country must prepare to the very definite threat at the same time. In the Atlantic, tropical storm Irene was quickly developed into limb track system and the forecast to become first hurricane of the season this weekend in the same moved west-north across the one way. Forecasts say it could rapidly intensify, complicating planning for the island communities to the coastal area along the West Atlantic and Bermuda when the center does not reach in the east coast. Broad waves and the threat to reach current could cause dangerous south to the coastal flooding in some areas on the east coast. Official and meteorological service are urged residents to closely monitor update. This week, the United States is experiencing unstoppable weather, from the intensified Atlantic hurricane threatening coastal waves to intense connective outbreak to inland areas and unusual late summer atmospheric river posing to flood in the Pacific Ocean coast. The variety of northern hurricane force winds to the sea, torrential rains, inland flash floods, and destructive winds gusts is testing the resilience of emergency service and highlighting now the definite parts of the country must prepare to the very definite threat at the same time. In the Atlantic, tropical storm Irene was quickly developed into limb track system and the forecast to become first hurricane of the season this weekend in the same moved west-north across the one way. Forecasts say it could rapidly intensify, complicating planning for the island communities to the coastal area along the West Atlantic and Bermuda when the center does not reach in the east coast. Broad waves and the threat to reach current could cause dangerous south to the coastal flooding in some areas on the east coast. Official and meteorological service are urged residents to closely monitor update.
It's like a snowstorm. Our vehicles are gonna rain with hail.
Models show the possibility of the rapid intensification, a major hurricane of area moving west-northwest, increasing uncurrent from the island communities in the East Caribbean, and a rapid likelihood of dangerous wave of the currents along the U.S. East Coast. Even the Storm Center reminds the offshore emergency management emphasizes the dangerous hurricane conditions. Large waves, coastal erosions, and life-threatening currents can occur before the far from any landfall. Follow increased advisory to survive probably through the arrival times. Gulf and southwestern flood risk outside in the eye, along with the tropical threat to separate area of concentrated moist to the West Gulf and the advised coastal area in the causing heavy slow-moving showers. Flooding remains the leading cause normally in tropical system when the weak tropical disbalance can cause flash flooding in urban corridor in low-lying coastal plains. Local medical service in the Persian Gulf and the southeast prioritize flood prevention, clearing drainage system, precautions pump, and updating evacuation notice for vulnerable communities. The storm's impact fell in the form from the Yakima Valley to Columbia Basin, where they went through the orange need to standard water through terrain, late Aprils and hoops. Fish biologists also experienced constant about the salmon's spawning grounds to rapidly rising streams, eroge fraudulent graving bottoms. This is powerful burst of energy and difficult to young salmon and the windsland. Meteorologists linking to even to atmospheric clear to cloud subtropical moist to calibrate the deep low pressure system of the coast, which can square the several days with the rain in a meter of hour. Official urged residents to avoid flooded cars, roads, check on the neighbor, and prepare to few danger on the ground or remain unsteppable. As the sky clear, attention turns to recovery, restoring power, clearing debris, and reinforcing river banks before the next Pacific rain arrives. For many Washington residents, the storms was a stark reminder changing coastline on the community ability to come together when it's matter cost. Volunteers walked through the night, placing standards around the area when the water ceased slipping through. This system was built in the centuries to come, warning flood manager Diego Cho, and the river is reminded us for the earth. In the Salas and Pacho valleys, farmers waded through the rows and flooded strawberries and let touch, dealing the direct blow in the state winter produce. Further east, heavy wet, snow blanket in this side, Sierra Nevada went turning into rain, wetting down roofs and triggering avalanches to meltwater, thundering in a catchment basin below. Creeks in a trajectory the South Lake through cleared water pipes, knowing the clogged pipe cloud flood in the area and imagine a broken dam. Hospitals treated hypothermia, burns in carbon monoxide poisoned from the user generators indoors, shelters filled with families with pets and garage bands to belonging community organization 100 up traps chanting to hot metals. Official reappeared to all refrain, turn back, don't draw, and the drivers tested their lack in a blanket rule. Forecasters said that this situation, warm seas, saturated soil, and suggestive storm turned original rain into crisis. When the skies finally clear, California will face a long day ahead, draining heats, inspiring dams and bridge, testing wells and inspecting system, and detailing crop losers. The alleged task will remain strangling the state with its likely mine water and a composter falls 100 in the state longer with the wall recurrent on the maps. Further north, Kansas and Missouri experienced widespread power outage after strong winds trapped transmission lines. At its peak, more than 300,000 homes were without electricity. Utility companies warning that restoration could take several days due to continued lighting and structure ground. Air travel was heavily affected. Major hubs including Chicago, O'Hare, Denver, and Atlanta reported extensive delays, and aircraft were grounded from the lighting safety and crosswinds exceeded operational limits. Over 1,200 flights were cancelled nationwide. The National Weather Service issued multiple flash flood emergency, urged residents to stay off roads and avoid low-lying areas. This system has potential to intensify further as they move east, warning envy is meteorological current wet field. In Louisiana and Mississippi, schools closed early as the river rose rapidly, threatening nearby communities. Local authorities began distribution sandbags, while activation emergency shelters for families forced to evacuate. A powerful multi-state storm has unleashed torrential rain, destructive winds, and landscape flooding across the United States, forcing evacuation and leaving millions of aid. Meteorologists say the system, which developed over the Gulf before startling northwest, have intensified at a place described as alarmingly fast. In Oklahoma and Missouri, flood water swept through the roads and residential area overnight. Rescue teams walking in near zero visibility. A rising water trapped motorists in their vehicles. It felt like a wall whose house was shaking. It through the windows would explode, said Linda Ray, a resident of Tulsa, who shattered the killed two children in the railway. The Stoneswood field has exact biting dramatically. Gusts exceeded 19 millihours. Dropped transformation tower, traveling power down girls and flooding nearly 6,000 homes in the darkness from the Texas in Ohio. Several hospitals switched to emergency generator after lightning strikes caused petrol system failure. The greatest two related hazards, flash flood and risk levels, which are especially dangerous. Steep slopes left the borough in the recent firefighters in debris flow to landslides in high elevates. Although rain can help extinguish active fires, hydrologists caution the public in avoid low-lying canyons in the river crossing until the conditions water-layer can be accepted. Connection and consequences by multiple events matter. Taken together, these events demonstrated how ocean warming, changing to seasonal circulation, and local changes in Earth's surface can alter the nature consequences of weather. Storms and the down energy from the warm sea, warm air can hold moisture to bring heavier rainfall. He left it landslide that faster rooftop. The practical implementation of straightforward communities need both implemented preparedness to especially hazard and long-term investments in the resilience. Updated evacuated roads, reinforces flood definition of rivers and coastal, improving monitoring the global basins and the small and used planning in the area prone to flash flooding and landslides. Washington state is experiencing one of the most severe storms in recent years, which lasted several days, destroyed coastal towns, caused road overflow, and covered cascades with heavy snow, prone to hailstone avalanches. Authorities confirmed at least 9 deaths related to the storm, dozens of injuries, and thousands of displaced people in western and eastern Washington state. In the key of Peace Country, overlapping streams in the south suburbs, living homes uninhabitable. I lived 40 years and never seen like this, said Howard Kim, the isolated teacher from Uber. I felt like nature was redrawing the map. Emergency service conduct more than 300 water rescue, many of whom cars abandoned to flooded highways. The Puget Sound region experiencing hurricane force wind that uprooted century-old trees and damaged power lines. More than 315,000 customers were without power, and a peak this storm and outdoor continued several days in rural communities. Further service was suspended, isolating. California is recovered after several days of heavy rain, with atmospheric front brought tropical mist through from the coast to Sierra. Lola area from San Diego to the Bay Area wake up knee-deep in water with the car stuck in intensification. Inland, the Central Valley turned into the Moissac and makeshift lakes, the creeks split in fields and towns. In Los Angeles, storm drains overflowing and unprecedented filled with water in minutes. We watched as the crabs disappeared when the sidewalks in the street, said Marisol Vega on the Peak of Union. In the not alone US 101, landslides scattered moved to the borders across the lines and sector of I-5 were predictably closed for the fast water rescue operations and debris removal. While the coast high waves and strong stuff washed over seawalls from the Pacific to Santa Barbara, a routing rift already weakened the windowed storm. The Sacramento San John Delta faced another danger, overflowed rivers put pressure old levels. Insurance experts estimated the damage could reach hundreds of millions of dollars, making it one of the most expensive hail events in recent Texas history. Fire department across the region responded more than 600 emergency calls, including house fires, sparks, and lightning strikes. In Austin, emergency shelters were opened to those displaced by the roof collapse and the flooding caused by the blocked drains. Meteorologists linking the storm and a strong cold front cauldron with the warm, humid Gulf air and the pattern increasingly common during spring and autumn. Dr. Michael Rainbow, a senior climatologist, warning Texas has always seen severe storm, but with alarm now they grow in intensity. We're seeing longer hailstones and more frequent supercell formations. Governor Greg Abbott declared a state of emergency in several countries and deployed the National Guard and as the debris accelerate. In a statement, he urged residents to remain vigilant as further thunderstorms are forecast in coming days. As the light broke since a destruction emerged, shattered skylines, stripped trees, and vehicles blanched in ice. Yet among devastation, stories and community resilience stood out. Volunteers from neighboring towns arrayed the turtles, drops, and fruit. Texas are through, said firefighters Ryan Galber. In the Fourth War, we were built together stronger than before. This week, a powerful storm swept across much of Alaska, bringing hurricane-force winds, coastal waves, and a dramatic glacier collapsed the flooded low-lying area in the state capital. Emergency service working throughout the night and clear roads, restore power, and reinforce riverbanks with the community's assessment the damage. In January, a long-awaited breakup of the Mediterranean glacier caused meltwater to flow into the Mid-Hill River, leading to record-high water levels that flooded yards and damaged small bridges. Authorities acknowledged that a hospitably constructed system of temporary barriers protected hundreds of homes homes from much worse damage, and the residents are urged to follow evacuation instructions to weather warning. For the west and across South Central Alaska, storms wind knocked down trees, power lines, and a process of cancellation and flights and ferries. In Anchorage, a surrounding area's crew responded to dozens of wind-related incidents, and thousands of people were briefly left without power, and key transportation links were disrupted.